So, Story's Path of Destinies was one of my favorite surprises of the last couple of years. I mean, what I thought would have just been this really gorgeous Batman combat style game with cute animal creatures turned out to be this really cool Groundhog Day style mystery game where you're trying to find the truest ending. And I just loved it. I was addicted to it. And that team's back now with pretty much a spiritual successor, if not basically sequel, with Omensight. Now, unlike the first game where you played as Ronaldo and he had like a strict character with personality and a past, now you play as the Harbinger, who's like this godlike TimeCop who has shown up at the end of the world to go like, okay, what are you guys doing? Time to clean up the mess. Since you're like a divine entity, I understand why she doesn't really speak. It kind of like gives a little like coolness to her. It does help because the game has a much larger focus on your party members this time. Rather than making different choices at each branch of the same story, here, every time you restart, you get to pick which starting point you have and which partner you get to team up with. And you get to see everything from their perspective and maybe give them more information based off of what you know now. And what's cool is that after you've met everyone, you basically get to see their movements throughout the day. So there's this much greater emphasis on not just what you're up to, but what everyone else is up to, and it helps you piece the thing together more. Now, the game has a bunch of different difficulties to choose from. I chose the harder combat, because that's kind of what I wanted out of this. Now, there's a mode for harder detective, where the game doesn't really help you try to figure things out. And I kind of feel like I should have done that, because so far it's felt a little bit too easy for me to progress. Like, the game kind of gives you a lot of hints as to what to do next, which is fine. I'm not against game direction, and I really don't like it when games waste my time. But this did kind of happen to me in stories where I'd gone through it so many times without finding the end that I ended up making Ronaldo so much powerful that the game became a cakewalk. Because while the story resets, your character's skills get to increase each time you die. So you're not losing everything, and the fights level up with you, so there's always a challenge. The environments don't really change that much, but maybe your ways of getting through them change, because you have ways to unlock new doors, or through your Omensight ability, have affected your partner in ways so that they'll open up new pathways themselves. A whole lot of the fun is to seeing how you get to change the world every time you go back, and seeing how all these partners interact with each other each time you go through it, because they're not all on the same side. So allying with one might lead you into working against another, especially if you just worked with one guy and now you're working with his enemy, and so now you're fighting all these different groups and you have no allegiance, and since there's a time reset, no one knows that you're betraying basically everybody to solve this really cool supernatural murder mystery. And by really cool, I mean it starts off seeming like really simple and really obvious, but then it gets way more complex and you're like, whoa, they actually put a lot of thought into this. This might be trickier than it should have been. The combat itself is, if you played stories, you kind of know what to expect. You got a lot of fast movement, and you don't have a lot of control over your character, but it's extremely stylish. And once you get the hang of it and you know not to mash, you can be a lot more restrained. You have a lot of time manipulation. You can basically become like this whirling circle of death with like fireballs and your buddy's special moves and all these cool cooperative things. But unlike in the previous game where at the end of every day you would die, in this one at the end of every day everyone else dies and you just kind of peace out. And you get to go, well, looks like the world got destroyed again, and oh, yep, everyone else died. And that's where they were. I haven't finished the game yet, because, I mean, it just came out today that I'm recording this. But it looks like it's going to be another enticing adventure.